Hi everyone! I'm really happy to be here and to share this moment with you. Thanks to Ozora organization, I'm here in my attic, lockdown since 1.5 months. Weird times, no? Very weird. I hope everyone is going okay, and I'm very happy to for this time to share my work with you, give you a bit of mind escape. My name is Jacques-André Dupont. I'm a transmedia artist, mostly working with audiovisual, video mapping and performance. Today I would like to show you a bit of my work in the first place, like explain you a bit like how paint mapping is born. And in the second time I would love to show you a bit like a bit of the technique that I use. Not really a tutorial, but just like to give you an idea and maybe inspire to follow this amazing practice of collaborating, of mapping and mixing it with painting. Some of you may have seen me and my collaborators, painters in Ozora, near from the Arty Barn or in the Ambis. Paint mapping is the hybridization of two art forms, the painting, very historical one, and the newer form of art which is called mapping. Projection mapping or video mapping, which is a very interesting media to give movement with light to objects, to still compositions, to architecture. My way to approach this media is actually to meet other artists and to find a common language. In general, it's step by step. So you really begin to create like the general composition, and then you bring a bit of like motion to do something which is a bit like sound responsive to the music of the DJ. And after that you go more into detail, and pretty much after 2 hours that you really have like kind of something which works, then you can really begin working on like more colors and different styles of animations that really strikes people. It's like wow. In this collab with Damon Saul and Oliver Vernon, in the Ambis they were painting for 6 days every night. And on the last night I came to have a little session with them. The first thing that came to my mind was to recreate the perspective of the painting which were organizing the painting, tracing these hidden lines. I began animating these lines to enhance this impression of depth. Just to give a little historical, I've studied special effects for cinema in the north of France. I went to work in Paris as a motion designer for 2 years. Finally to launch into the Berliner Bath. Very excited by techno music, VJing, and ready to develop my own work. And that's where I discovered the video mapping medium. I use this software called MapMapper, which is an amazing tool that I really recommend. That's where I developed my first artworks. Mostly it was really a research around sound, moving light, rhythms, and sculpture. How matter, how light and how sound can work together to give an emotion. After that, I developed also another work, which was my first trial with painting. A triptych with painted moons. How to honor light, to honor the cycles of life and the cycles of the sun. As I was living in Berlin, I was frequenting a lot, like the club scene, doing some VJing there, and there I ended up hanging out with really cool people who were doing tape art, actually. As I was seeing the way they were working with these very straight lines and geometrical forms, I thought, wow, this could really be mapped, and I could even do that live. And we ended up during some parties doing some live taping and mapping. And at the same time, I had a friend who is called Blo. Blo is an amazing graffiti artist, and we were very excited to see how we could work together. I followed him in the different places to see how he was working. I was really passionate about the way he was working with graffiti. Discovering new places in the suburbs of Berlin and sneaking in and being inspired by the place and just improvising on a wall, being inspired by this place and enjoying the moment, basically, of the process of just painting and improvising on the spot. And I was very impacted also by the gesture that he was having with the spraying on big walls. This motion that you have, like how you used your body was very impacting for me. And coming in front and then taking some distance to watch it, and this whole relationship with the space was very, very interesting for me. And at the time, actually, I was studying dance because in my life something was missing. I was spending too much time on my computer and I wanted to experience life through my body. So I decided, okay, I have to change something in my life. I want to create, but I want to create with my body and I want to experience life with my body. That made me also more sensitive to the gesture of a painter. And wanting to be less and less involved with screens, I thought, okay, so the best way to do it is actually to improvise also myself, as Blo is doing, you know? Blo it's amazing. He just goes and he doesn't need a computer. He just needs paint. So I thought, okay, how can I do it with my own tools, because I'm not a painter, I'm an AV artist. So I began trying to find ways to improvise a mapping. And it was really interesting because in the beginning I could only make squares and triangles and circles. The more I was practicing and the more I could map onto organic forms. And after a time, I decided to move out to Italy, and then I moved to Lyon, where I had an atelier. I had a workshop. My workshop was in a big house called Taverne Gutenberg, with a lot of artists, which were mostly like graffiti artists. I began again to do more paint mappings and collaborate with different styles of artists, and until last year also, where I've been able to show my work with Jonathan Wyss and other amazing painters who were in Ozora. This was a total improv with Mr. Sphinx and Koei. In the center, in the middle, there was like this door, and we said, okay, maybe what we can do is go for like a space portal. I put this grid and we thought, oh, cool. Actually, this really helps us to feel like the depth. And from there, they began connecting the squares. This session with the artist V2M in a club called Le Sucre in Lyon. We just sketched a visual 5 minutes before going on stage, and we were ready. This session was pretty long because it was a big wall. It was like a 6 meter by 250. I think the paint mapping lasted 4 to 5 hours. Really cool to have this huge wall to paint in front of all these people. Everything has to go so quick, because people are watching, and there are so many spaces to fill in. You want to have a good result. You want to create this game with the other artists. So it's very it demands a lot of focus, and also there is the whole visual and rhythmical thing that you add to it, which has to go with the music. So basically you're doing two things at a time. For the festival Clujotronic, I was invited by the Institut Français of Cluj in Romania to collaborate with these super cool street artists Kero and Oku, and this was a really good moment of sharing. That's something that I really enjoy in this street art community. People really help each other and recognize each other as like pairs. Two-night experience of live painting and mapping. We had a lot of fun. Crazy Stradom. Super enjoyable because this man is really physical in the way he approaches painting. We had like this really big wall. He really played with like stains, drippings, spraying. A very rich work to watch being done. A lot of fun. And yeah, that's one of the artists that I really enjoy working with because he has a capacity to improvise which is really impressive, and really this rough style, super cool. So, what do you need to create a paint mapping? For the mapping part, it's pretty easy. You need a computer, you need a mapping software, you need an interface to control the mapping software. You can use mouse, but I'm using a graphic tablet here, which is pretty useful because it's more precise, and as well I can, especially on the last feature, really draw forms, draw shapes into the software live, which is really cool. And you need a projector connected to the computer. So you don't need a very special projector. You connect it with HDMI to your computer, and this is a video projector. It has nothing special. It's like just to watch movies, you know. It's really the same. You don't need like a special projector because it's video mapping. So MadMapper is edited by 1024 Architecture and Garage Cube. They come from Switzerland. It's amazing because it really allows me to create forms in a very, very quick way. That's how I can do live mapping. In general, mappings are very prepared, and the way that I do them is actually live. So people can see, as I'm doing the mapping, they can see the process of the doing. Just to have a little understanding of the interface. Here on the left are all my layers. Every time I will make a new form, it will appear as a layer here. Okay, so this part is just like, what do I choose from the source that I've chosen? And this part here is actually my mapping. So just for helping you understand, I put here a painting, which is supposed to be, let's say, the painting that painter is doing live, okay? But for the sake of the demonstration, I'm just putting in the background a painting, which is an amazing painting from Kandinsky. And so now what I'm going to do with this basic form is just like to choose a form that I want to map. For example, let's choose this bigger form here, up, and just like deform my square so that it sticks to the form, basically, okay? And what you will see in reality is actually this light blinking, coming on and off, which will project onto the painting. As you can see here, you can make squares, you can make lines, you can make triangles and circles. So of course, it's very useful when you want to, when you have like paintings which are very, very geometrical, no? In general, this is how you use it. You can also really work with more complex forms, especially like I'm on this new version, can allow you to actually draw on top, to draw lines. So this is very useful, for example, for this kind of things. It's so quick, you see? And then you can choose also the media that you want to practice on. Here we go. I also can create more complex forms. I begin from a square, and what I'm going to do is to add warping points. I can add them like this, and then I will adjust the form to where I want. For now, I'm not going to. This is, for example, let's say I'm playing with a painter, and I just want to improvise a form which is not yet existing. No, okay. So it's going to be here, and then the painter will paint this inside of this, for example. And if I want to have a more organic rendering, I can say Bezier here. Okay, and then all these points get into Bezier, and I can really like make round shapes which are really opening the possibilities. Yeah, and as you can see it's very quick. No, like the process is not so long, and you can really do this live. It's really not a problem. Creating blobs and other weird forms. Yeah, I think that's it. Basically, here on the right you have a lot of media that you can use. So what I like to do after some time is take all the forms that I've created and change them all into one thing or into something else, and that's how you can play with these very useful materials. Working with these very basic materials which just allow me to create light effects, because the painting is already so rich, you know, like the painter is bringing a lot of texture and a lot of color. I don't need to bring more of this, so I just need to bring form and to bring light. I'm just like creating rhythms inside of the composition. I hope this is inspiring for you, and I really encourage you to try this amazing software, MadMapper. So I hope that you enjoyed this presentation. I invite you to try paint mapping or just mapping to begin. I invite you to collaborate with other artists. Also through the internet there are now many possibilities. Okay, here I want to thank all crazy artists that crossed my road. Mostly painters, tape artists. I want to thank Psoman, Ketzila, Sphinx, Kwe, V2M, Wenk, Henri Lamy, Abdul Khad, Julia Zanvit, Blo, Yandi, Shufi, Okiro and Oku, Kwezi, Jonathan Weiss, Oliver Venon and Damon Soul, Tapeover, Kleber Bande, Jumu Monster and Wally Pierce. Thank you! Peace.